the challenge. How did everyone do?
Well, I found that just the awareness piece was great. Like just kind of like, because mine was that I was going to switch up if any like limiting thought or fear-based thought came into my mind, I would switch it for a truth-based kind of unlimiting thought. So just that awareness piece, like when something came into my mind, it's like, oh yeah, no, I got to switch that around to something else. So actually just even setting that intention and having that awareness was great actually. So just kind of being, yeah, because then it just empowers you to know, well, you can do something about it. It's like it's not true what's coming into my mind, so I can switch it up and change it. So it was really good.
Yeah, thank you, Rita. That I think just even putting something out there and knowing that there's a group and we're accountable just impels you to want to follow through.
Yes, for sure.
Yes, and I found that too. I guess I wasn't, I won't lie and say I was 100% always doing this, right? I mean, that's not the way it works, but I had an intention to be more present. And I found, I did find myself with that awareness that, oh, I'm not being present right now. My mind is drifting away, or like I'm with someone. I've got to bring my mind back, right? So that I'm present with them. And so I think it's something good to keep working on and keep not just 7 days, right? That's the point, right? For a lifetime.
Yeah, I'm curious, Stacy, was there anything that you did to specifically focus on it, or any way you measured it?
That might have been a good idea.
No, I was just wondering because it would be something that definitely I would want. It's something that I write for myself, but one of the tools that I use to help improve my presence is I find that just the sleeping better will help.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I was just wondering if you had any specific tools or anything that you use to kind of help you.
No, it's more just around setting the intention, and I've been on that path anyway. So it's really just trying to get myself so it triggers, right? So it triggers me to realize it, and so that's just what I've been working on. And I did, by the way, I take a lot of notes. So I just pasted my notes from chapter 7 in the WhatsApp or in Telegram. So y'all, if it's helpful.
Nice. No, thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share about how their challenge was?
Go Tiffany.
Okay. So I want to see everybody here, but I enjoyed it. Like for me, it's when you challenge yourself and then you complete the task, then you feel good about yourself. So that's what I really liked. So for me, it was when I come home from work to do my Qigong again at that time. And then also to get myself a green shake. So some days it wasn't always a green shake, but it was kombucha or something. But for me, it is, when I come home from work, I like to often pour a glass of wine. So I'm not sure if there's any other wine drinkers there, but it is a habit I've been trying to break for a while, because I know, wine with friends and everything is good, but also I know it makes me kind of tired. And so when I did that, it's like, Tiffany, yeah, you can get back to this again, like, and doing my Qigong, even if I would just it was like a quick 10-minute, because it would help to kind of center me again. And then having like a vegetable juice was wonderful. And I love the taste of green juice. So it just kind of brought me back into that habit formation. And, one of the things in this chapter, it says, with violence or love, whatever, but, the only way to overcome a bad habit is with a good habit. So I really like this new habit formation that I'll be getting myself back into again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's such a good point that you can only kind of, it's that concept, you have to substitute one thing for another thing, right? So it's just being conscious about what we're substituting with. So how long have you been doing Qigong for?
Since 2014, so 6 years.
Oh, nice.
So
yeah,
almost seven
I've
years
been learning the last couple of years as well. And it's it's really good. Maybe we can show the group some Qigong some point. It's really easy.
Super easy. And the thing is, you know, you can do little Qigong or short. And what I find most powerful is like now when I walk on the beach, I just like try to take even just 5 minutes when I'm right by the water to do some Qigong, because it's just so much more powerful when you have the power of the sea and the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you, Tiffany. Hiba, do you want to go?
I was really inspired by the group. And for example, Tiffany, I didn't know much about Qigong, so I Googled it I Googled it and I tried to do some. And you know, I'm bound with many of you. So for example, when I'm eating, I tried as well to eat more green, to do other than the things I wanted to. You know, I wanted to do 20 minutes meditation every day and to do 3 gratitude every morning. But in addition, I did this. Just one day I missed it. But in addition, I was doing what others are doing. You know, I felt like a link. So when I wanted to eat vegetables, I was thinking of Ami, because she told me when she's ingesting vegetables, how she's feeling better. And Tiffany, I try to drink as well more green juices in the morning. So I was thinking of you, what you're feeling. So it was really cool, but because now it's not like listening with people. So with you, so I was thinking of everyone with one of the stuff you're doing, and I was sometimes doing, adding stuff, but I was not doing them for every day. But I hope I will be. But it was a great experience. I was waiting really this week to see that everyone is very happy and excited to share what he did. So thank you everyone. Thank you, Rican.
Thanks, that's wonderful, Hiba. That you adopted other people's and you also added your own on top. That's great. Anyone else wanted to share? Ami or Avni?
I can
yes,
go.
Avni. Go ahead, Avni.
Ami, you want to go?
Sure, I'll go first. So I didn't celebrate my daily wins every day. I started with great intention, and then somewhere in the middle, I lost it, and then I went back on it again. So it didn't feel natural to me to do that. The celebrating part, I felt I do gratitude, so that was easier. But to celebrate the daily wins, I had a tougher time. Just to even remember to do that. And I think this is something I want to explore more of why I couldn't do it, and just try to see if I can do another week of it. Because I think it is important to recognize your good efforts of the day too. The other one was to commit to level 2 and recognize when I'm triggered and angry in the moment. So I did well with that one for sure. I think it was the intention to not get triggered was really helpful, to not get triggered. And so that was really good, but celebrating, I didn't do well on at all.
Ami, I was going to say with the celebrating wins, I feel that kind of appreciation and gratitude is pretty much 2 sides of the same coin, because at least it takes you into the process of reflecting on your day. And usually, I mean, a lot of times we appreciate something that happened to us, but I think also we will, in that process of showing appreciation, we'll usually also appreciate things that, we did well or went well too. So I don't know. I don't know what other people think, but I kind of see it as similar things, just in a, expressed in a different way. Please, Tiffany.
So I do both. So I do my gratitudes and my wins, but I do feel it's a different emotion in me when I write them down. So what I do, I have at night, I have a little book, it's by my bed. I write my 10 little gratitudes. But when I write my wins down, it's just, for me, it's almost like a greater accomplishment. These aren't always big things, but it feels like I've made more forward momentum or forward motion with them when I write the win down, because it feels like I had to work a little bit maybe for it. And also at the same time, I also write down the one thing that I need to work on tomorrow. So my challenge, and it seems to be the same thing every time, which is getting more organized. but I write that down, and so it gives me, again, that little mental focus. Maybe it's about momentum. I don't know if that kind of rings in. So the gratitudes, I'm like, I can feel joy, bliss, awe, and I'm so thankful for these things. But when I have that little accomplishment, it's really boosted me forward.
Yeah. I was thinking, Tiffany, also to add that if we are just trying to be very specific about the time of the day or the environment by which we're gonna, complete or do whatever we had set forth, I think that really helps. Like I know for myself that for the tasks that I had set up for myself, one of them was not looking at my phone, and that's easy because that's in the morning. And I was able to do that, except for the day that I was on call waking up in the morning, I was able to do it. But also my reading also happens in the morning. So I find if you have it the day of the time of the day picked out, it at least for me, it helped in kind of that execution, because I knew when it was coming. And then ideally, the other challenge is when you do whatever you had set out to do, like, are we just squeezing it in before we went to sleep, or because we didn't, we forgot, or, did we get it at the time we had designated? So I think those are also kind of just, fine tuning whatever we'd set out for ourselves as well. But I mean, maybe if you just choose the time and the environment, that might help.
Yeah, I think the challenge was what Tiffany was alluding to. That's why I really related to that, and thank you for pointing it out. It's going within and trying to find your accomplishment, right? So I think the way that you've explained it, Tiffany, is easier now to try to separate out the gratitude from the actual win.
Great.
Can I add something to the gratitude?
Yes, please, Hiba.
Yeah, I'm doing them before when I wake up in the morning very, very early. I'm still not fully awake, so I say these 3 gratitude. So I notice sometimes, because you hear stuff or some things are sometimes related to your dreams, so you're more aware and more present during the day. And you, for example, I can give one day, I'm gratitude because I'm in a place I can hear, the sound of the birds in the morning. So now all the day, since that day, I'm more aware of the birds and the sounds. So when we say this, we're more aware with the things, and really we feel it every day. This is from my own experience. And I do it every day, very, very early, because I'm still before being very awake, because it's more the unconscious talking more than the conscious one. And I feel they are very, very real, the things that I am very simple, but I start my day very happy. I try to do them during the day. It's not the same effect and the same feeling when I do them very, very early, when I'm really in bed and not fully awake.
Thank you, Hiba. Enver, Rima, Paul.
Hi.
Oh, go ahead, Avni.
Yeah, so hi everyone. Mine was about meditation and adopting, getting back into prayer, which I have forgotten for a while. And I agree with you totally, Rikin, when you say that it's really, intentionally place a time in your day when you really want to do it. So for me, obviously, the best time for meditation was the morning. And I only did short meditations. I mean, I did like 10, 15, 20 minutes meditation, but even that, it was amazing. It was really, really amazing. And I did a prayer for myself as in the world, and it really set my day. I really felt it, and I know that I need to do it every single day, and I will continue to do it. So amazing meditation is but I remember when you said, Rikin, that you do it for 2 hours. I think that would be absolutely amazing. I just have to find 2 hours.
I started with 5 minutes.
Yeah. But do you have any specific, no, you said you do with mantras, yeah? You use mantras to do it. So I was using an app called Insight Timer. So I'd go on there, I'd go to the guided ones, and I would choose according to, some would be for morning, some would be for energizing, some would be for self-love. So it's okay to do that, isn't it? It's basically, it's time for yourself where it's calm for the mind, but I prefer guided.
Yeah, no, guided meditations. I think sound is also a very powerful way for meditation because, you know, the whole reason why sound exists as for guided meditation is to engage more of your senses, right? So you're engaging the sense of hearing, and that also has an effect to help kind of calm and control your mind. So the engaging that sense is also really powerful.
Yeah, it's something I think it's a game changer for me, actually. It's really something that would really help me. So thank you so much. I look forward to the next 7 days, then the next 7 days, then the next 7 days, to then anniversary of a year, 2 years, 5 years. Okay.
If I can just comment for Avni, if you like Insight Timer, there's a really great program. There's a guy named David G. He's out of California, and he has it's his 30-day path of transformation. And it's a very good one because it's sequential and each day kind of builds on, but it's nice to have something to follow. You might want to look at that 30-day path of transformation.
Thank you so much. I will definitely look it up. Thanks, Tiffany.
And I'll go to the quiet members in our group, Paul, Enver, Rima.
I'll go. So I did caffeine. I was already starting caffeine actually a week before we decided the 7-day. I've been drinking coffee since I started working in the office setting every morning, my first coffee. And so at least 15 years of having a coffee every morning, maybe in the afternoon. But in the last 2 years, I think I cut down to just one coffee every day. So last week, before we started this challenge, I decided I was going to do it, but I thought I might get headaches from getting rid of the coffee. So I switched to green tea and just had half a cup of green tea just to make sure there would be no kind of effect that I would get off of this train. And then the week that you guys decided to do this, I said, okay, let's just get rid of it completely and just do a decaf, like just so I have the feeling of drinking it, because I feel like it's just a mental thing. I just switched my Nespresso pod to a decaf. I know there might be still a minor amount in there, but at least it's still like I've fully switched over now and the habit's broken. So it's the only habit I have that I'm attached to, or that I was attached to. So yeah, so that was I would say, I can't say that there's much of a difference from not having coffee. I would say sometimes I'm a little bit less motivated, but that could also be COVID and the environment right now. So I can't say that it's better for me yet, but let's see in a month or so.
Good job.
I can go next. So I actually either missed an instruction or misunderstood the instruction. So on the topic of purity, I was thinking sort of more along the lines of what you pay attention to grows. And of the challenges and the little image that were sent, I get triggered by anger in others, and sort of trying to convert that into a positive experience is what I've been trying to do. And being very cognizant of reacting to anger being the wrong thing to do. So so that's sort of my week. I don't know how I missed the other stuff. I don't know if something's happening on WhatsApp that's not happening on Telegram or what. But that my focus this week was really sort of on being more aware of what I am reacting to minimize the impact. So that's been my week and the focus.
Yeah, no, you didn't miss anything. That's great. How did it go for you?
It's going better, and I'm actually sort of also cognizant of when, particularly when you've got kids, right? And one of them throws off, and then your spouse goes, and it's been really, really kind of good to be able to watch the map a little bit from a different angle. and really sort of trying to proactively focus on feeding the good one. So as opposed to reacting, it's been really useful. So that was a good week for me that way.
That's great. It's you're dealing with quite a challenging one, right? Because there's so many different factors that come into our day-to-day life that impact our mood and, you know, potentially could trigger us. So that's great. That's a big one to take on.
Yeah.
So thank you. Enver, did you want to share anything?
I already put my recommendations in the chat, but I am also very thankful that we are doing these sessions, and I am catching me during the day in the direction of violence, how I can get out of it. So I am also thinking, first my anchor is the cover of the book. So, and then I ask myself, so where are coming these kinds of thoughts? And then I am doing my attention to my breathing, and then come to a non-violence stable situation. So this is my daily challenge. So I'm doing, and meanwhile I also started with these two apps. I did the meditation from John Kabat-Zinn, and also there is a Dr. Davidson. He has a very nice book for his brain, the emotional brain. So and this app is also developed, and I am also doing this. Also, this starts with small exercises in 4 or 5 feeling situation of the brain. So this was my experience in direction non-violence.
That's great. Thank you, Enver. And Ida, did you want to share anything before we start?
In the back.
Just where I'm now, it's not possible to share.
Okay.
But I'll just add that the challenge was fantastic because it if anything, it just made me more present. So thank you.
Yeah, I agree, Ida. For me, just increasing the amount of time for me that I was away from my phone in the morning, it, you realize that sometimes we have habits that you don't sometimes even know what purpose they serve. But then when you let them go, you realize, okay, life is pretty much okay when I don't have to, reach for it, or, there's not much that you in fact get out of it by having it. So that for me was something that came about just having more distance with the phone, and that, the world goes on, and that you'll come to it when you've kind of designated for it. But just if we're not conscious about it, then it's easy just to kind of, just to, in the initial stage, just to reach for something that's, just a knee-jerk reaction, right? So that was something that was really helpful for me. And then the reading I had of the Gita, that happened all except one day. And the only reason it didn't happen the one day is because I didn't do it in the morning. So then I'd have a sometimes tendency to forget. So that's why I was just commenting on, for me, that having it in the morning really just sets it up for it to be able to get done. All right, that was really tremendous hearing from everyone, and just sharing everyone's progress is a win, right? So I'd love to continue just at least touching base on these things week to week, because I think this is really where the transformation happens. But on that note, we will just get started with the content for today. So this week's chapter is Ahimsa, so the principle of nonviolence. And before we get in, I'm just going to start with our invocation, so you can follow along. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangu Langayate Kirim Yat Kripatam Aham Vande Shri Guru Dinataranam. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sundeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So again, thank you for joining us today. And as always, we're just setting the intentions of coming here to be fully present. The second is to bring full-hearted determination and participation so we can all grow. And the third is mutual respect for each of us and our different backgrounds and values. So we wanted to really get into the chapter today, this concept of Ahimsa, or most people understand it to be non-violence. So if you remember, this is in the Dharma code. Actually, I'll go back to it just so we can kind of step back and take a peek. But this is really speaking to the principle so this is in the domain of relating. Right, so we've gone through so far, we've gone through the domain of differentiating. So purity was really much about discernment and choosing actions that are good for us and perhaps staying away or making distance from things that don't serve us. We talked about truth, the domain of being. And then so this week, we're starting to get into the domain of relating. And so this domain of relating really refers to not only how we relate to others, but how we relate to ourselves, right? And it's a really, of the four principles, it's considered to be the one that is the kind of, in terms of, we were looking for a starting point amongst the four principles in our lives, it's understood that this is the most important one to start with, right? Is the domain of relating, because it's, as you see here, it's relationships affect our day-to-day lives, and it's something we can't avoid, right? And so we're going to get into the different types of ways potentially we inflict, violence, not only on ourselves and others, but most likely unknowingly, because I'm sure most people wouldn't consider themselves a violent individual. But when we kind of peel the layers, there are definitely tendencies and habits we may carry that we do so unknowingly, right? So I just wanted to go back and show this overview of this slide. And I'll just fast forward to the current slide. So we have our carbon footprint, which most people know. It refers to the emissions of different greenhouse gases, and that happens in a variety of ways. And the principle that I wanted to bring everyone to that really kind of drives this whole chapter is our karmic footprint, right? And so this practice of ahimsa is really trying to reduce our violent footprint that we carry in our day-to-day life. And so we should, this picture here, what it's depicting is, and the question we can ask ourselves in our actions is, when we're doing something, are we planting a seed or are we planting a weed, right? And so this picture really gets at that concept of what are we leaving in terms of our karmic footprint? And I'm just using kind of the analogy to kind of compare it to what most people will be able to relate to is the carbon footprint. So we're just going to start, we're going to get right into talking about the different types of violence. And the first one that we're probably going to spend the rest of today is talking about the violence that we inflict on ourselves, right? And so just for people to kind of engage, do people have any ideas for how they may, how this kind of translates into their own life, or do they even think that they inflict violence on themselves? Does anyone want to share?
Yeah, I will share. Oh, okay.
Please, Ida.
Okay. like the negative emotions that we may experience, whether it's anger or resentful, for example. I think that's violence on ourselves. Any negative emotion, basically.
Right. That's a really good one. Very good one. And it happens so very quickly and unknowingly. I think, one of the things I was reflecting about is that we inflict a lot of harm to ourselves when, we've talked about this before, but this whole idea of like comparison, right? Comparison really breeds, kind of these negative emotions. And it happens more and more, now because everybody's lives is so public, with the advent of social media. So that was just one point that I was thinking about that just adds to what you were saying. Anybody else I wanted to share? I think Kiba wanted to share something.
Yeah, just I thought about the violence. We not somehow, I will explain it more about what we ingest, the food we're ingesting. That what will reflect on being lazy, being not having this positive, being more aggressive, and less calm. And I experienced it with my husband when he lost more than 35 kilo. And, he said that this is the best thing he had done in his life. So he became by far very calm. He became, he's a different person. Just losing that weight made him a different person. And, the character, although he's working on himself, but the weight and what he was ingesting, he was not aware of it. So just the food by itself, if I want just to talk about it, with all the consequences on the character, on the mood, on everything.
Yeah, I really do think that what we, the saying of you are what you eat really comes out. And sometimes it takes a little bit of, I find that, let's say we're changing habits or letting something go. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to be able to, sometimes it's very obvious and sometimes it takes a little bit more time. But, as Tiffany was just mentioning, just that idea of maybe sometimes becoming a little bit more fatigued and dulled a little bit, when, alcohol is is a really, really easy one, I think, to identify with, because, we know just kind of medically, like we have things that up us and we have things, we have uppers and downers, and, alcohol is definitely a downer and a suppressant of our gray matter. So yeah, no, thank you, Hiba, for sharing that. Anyone else wanted to share kind of how we may inflict violence on ourselves, knowingly or unknowingly? So we talked about negative emotions, we talked about comparison, we talked about the things we may ingest. All right.
So I want to highlight comparison mainly for kids, for teenagers, is very harmful. So later on, if we would think about doing any session for parents and parenting, if you can just highlight on this point, really, I see it as very, very harmful.
Yeah.
So I want to, because they are not so aware, they are not formed, they're having, so there is a lot mainly with the public and now, is all the social media and everything. So it's very powerful and it's very harmful for kids.
Right. No, thank you. So the point that I wanted to kind of highlight before we kind of concluded today's session is this idea that we can many times exploit because of our own sometimes story and taking our own story a little bit too seriously. So that's really what I wanted to highlight in today's in today's breakout room. And so the question that we wanted to kind of put forward to everyone is, this is what everyone's going to be just reflecting on and discussing in our breakout room, but situations or stories in our life that strongly impact us. And then I just wanted everyone to think about, is this something that repeats daily, and do we take it too seriously? We may or we may not, but again, it's just we're just getting to the point of awareness and identifying and labeling. because from there, then we can start to look at the downstream effects of that. So this is really a way that I think, we can inflict harm on ourselves and then in turn to others, because we do have usually a lot of our own stories, life events, things that have occurred to us that, continually sometimes replay, and then it becomes our norm, right? So that's what the kind of question I wanted to put out there. So I'm going to just break all of us up into breakout rooms, and this time I'm going to assign them manually because my sister always tells me that she gets put in this room with the same like 2 people.
Hi, Ricken. This is Avni.
Yes,
my
Avni?
connection is not very good. Just leave me out of a room right now.
Okay, that's
yeah,
fine.
Just I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be rude to anybody. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll. I think this looks good. We'll go ahead with this.
What happened?
We're back in the regular.
Oh, he's put us back. Okay, because I'm like, oh my god, I've missed it. Okay. Sorry, it's just I'm driving with a friend and we're just the GPS has taken us to a wrong direction, and I'm like, that's okay. So thank you for your patience.
No problem.
What I wanted to say was, the conversation we're having is very much around that non-violence, and it is, isn't it? Because when you look back at, when you're reflecting on your past relationships, because in each of those relationships, there's been an experience, right? And I totally agree. We get what we need to get at that point of time. I don't think there's any right and wrong, and I can say that now in retrospect, right? But we can't see it at that point of time. But when you look back, I know I am the person I am today because of those relationships.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying as well, right? But I wouldn't go back to those relationships.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're back.
It's really interesting.
Did anyone want to share anything from their breakout room on reflections that they had or interesting conversation points?
I will say very general.
Yeah.
I had with Rima, and it was very funny because we have the same thing. We spoke about it. So it was when she was speaking the same way, I would speak about the same thing. So, we see that we're, as a human, we share very similar stuff. So it's, and she gave me one idea how to overcome it. And as well, I shared one of the things about this because it's struggling somehow in my daily life. So.
Great, thank you, Hiba. Anyone else? Tiffany?
I guess, so for me, it's funny how, again, we're so similar, and that the people who are closest to us in our lives are our greatest teachers. And, there's always the talk that we were born into a family, but it's to be taught and it's to learn so that we can grow. It seems to be a similar message.
Tiffany, it's the exact same kind of theme that Paul and Avni and I were talking about. And, it goes back to the point that one of my mentors had mentioned years ago that I heard in a talk that he did. But, if we want to look at kind of our evolution as spiritual beings, we shouldn't look at how good things are with relationships we have with friends or, cousins or people distant to us. It's the people kind of we live with in our 4 walls. That that's the true litmus test for where we're at in our kind of evolution, because they can push our buttons, we can push their buttons. We all know, everyone knows each other's strengths and weaknesses, and I was just telling the 2 of them that kind of the biggest area of victory I always feel is that when I make the non-violent decision in that situation with my family.
All right. I love that point. Thank you. I mean, we know it, but it's the fact that you related it to that we shouldn't look at our relationships with our friends and so on. Like, you know, I always think that, well, but I'm a really nice person. Look, this person likes me. This person likes me. My Titan friends love me. But it's the real test is that core to
Exactly. And, you know, I bring this up just to not give ourselves like a false sense of hope, right? That, you know, we can, you know, there's always like a deeper, like layered appeal in the onion, right? And it's nice that it's kind of come up across the board. So, you know, I'll just, before we end, I just wanted to share kind of a line that the reason why we started with violence, you know, there's kind of 3 areas of violence. There's avoiding violence to ourselves, avoiding violence to the earth, and then avoiding violence to others. But the reason why I wanted to start with ourselves was because, you know, to this point, violence to others is always preceded by violence to oneself. It is like picking up hot coals to throw at someone else. We are always the one who gets burned first. And so then the next kind of point goes on. The highest faculty of human being is not its rationality, but his capacity to emerge from violence and to love purely without self-interest. So I thought that was a really powerful point from this section of avoiding violence to oneself. And then I'll just end on the point that I was just sharing with Avni and Paul in our group, that one of the things that I try to do, you know, kind of to sometimes help myself is to try to, you know, surround myself with, like we were saying, level 3 wisdom or level 3 people as much as I can, because it gives me the example and it puts me around as much kind of the example of someone, you know, that is like that. And so I just wanted to share that today, for the next 5 weeks, for those of you that have kind of joined the group up build that my friends had up, they're having a monk who's been a monk for the last 40 years, and he's going to be running the next 5 weeks in that conversation. And he's really going to be going into unpacking kind of the multiple near-death experiences he's had. And I just wanted to invite everyone, if they wanted to join, I'll share kind of the Zoom link in our group. But it's just an opportunity to maybe get that exposure or see what that, you know, if you wanted more kind of time and company with that level 3 individual who's really, you know, kind of grappled and tried to master the mind. So I just wanted to, if anyone is open, I'll share that in the group, and, you know, feel free to just, if you're going to join, just send me a message and I'll just pass it on to my friends that we have, you know, other people joining us. But on that note, if no one has anything else to share, we just wanted to end it there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Great.
Have a great week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great way.
Bye-bye.
Posting your challenges.
path of purity.
Bye.